Hello and welcome to Future Ready Live, this special edition on Tuesday, the May 22nd. It was an interview with an active member from CPA CGMA, Ted Delgado, who chaired the Marcus Evans CFO Conference in Dallas, Texas. Ted is a CPA CGMA, CMA, and CFM. He's the Vice President for Finance and Controller at McLean & Company. Ted was the chairman of the conference, and he sat down with me to talk about some of the highlights from this conference. So Ted, tell us what some of these big highlights were as you sat in on pretty much every one of the panels that went on over these 3 days.
Yeah, no, it has been great sessions. Everybody has been very engaged. And something that I really appreciated is that we have a variety of industries and CFOs with multiple experiences that have brought in a really point of view not only insular to their companies, but also how starting with the economy, starting with a business environment, and how that is impacting their decisions, their partnerships within their companies, with their vendors, really an understanding that we live in a world where we depend on each other to be successful. So a great conference.
So as chair, you got to prepare for it with all the speakers. You've been involved in a whole bunch of these presentations. What's the big takeaways for you? What would you say the top couple of takeaways that you're bringing away from this conference?
Yeah, so number one, the importance of being aware of what is happening outside your four walls and how that is impacting the business. The second thing is that everybody has been very clear that the finance profession really is expanding beyond just finance numbers and accounting numbers. From the perspective that we are really managers of data, and we have to make sure that data is properly controlled so that it can be useful for the next step, which can be predictive analytics, machine learning, or maybe at some point in time, the practical use of artificial intelligence in business. But that cannot really be accomplished if all our data, not only financial, is properly structured, governed, and controlled. And that has been a very clear message from everybody. And then when we achieve those, we can say, goals, the next step is really taking all that information and being able to use it cross-functionally to make decisions, manage risk. And that has been another interesting discussion on how businesses are evolving their risk management and to really not only understand what is happening internally, but also externally. And just since the pandemic, all of us have seen that if the actions of a company or a business in considering the environment are slow, then that has a significant impact on those businesses. And the same, right now, as we look forward into the changes in the economy, everybody we can see is preparing to ensure that their businesses are in a very strong position to take also advantage of the new opportunities, because honestly, at the end of the day, every crisis can also create new opportunities that we as a business want to make sure that we are in a good position to take advantage of.
Love that. So talk a little bit, because you just talked about the changing role of the CFO, and you're right. It's spanning the whole business. I remember in our session, one of the things I asked about is we always say how many CFOs are involved in a top issue of digital transformation. But when you dig into that, really, the CFOs are involved in business transformation. What do you think about that? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and so at this point in time, we can see that CFOs throughout all the companies and the ones represented here, they are no longer the people that are just coming up with the financials, even just financial forecasts. Really, they are a key strategic partner for the CEO and all their peers. And really, we may be talking about a chief operating officer, but also there is more to it. We're talking about a value partner, strategic partner, because even if there's, let's say the company has an actual chief operating officer, the CFO continues to have a cross-functional role and that is really embedded with how do we make decisions. And that's really the key, is how do we manage all the information that is available to the business, regardless if it's accounting data, financial forecasting data, which, by the way, if that financial forecast is not really connected to what is going on in the business, then it's really not that helpful.
Yeah.
So everybody needs to be able to be on the same page in order to believe that the information that they have available cross-functionally can be used for good decisions.
Yeah. And then, so we were honored to be part of this, and we presented the skills gap, right? We got to talk a little bit about what we're seeing and how we at the AICPA CMA are trying to address the skills gap in our profession. And that was, talent was a big top of mind here as well, right? Getting the right people in the right seats with the right skills. And how do we get more talent into our finance pipeline? That was another big topic.
Yeah, absolutely. That was so important, and people discuss their challenges with recruiting and retaining, and then the next step is training, and how difficult that is in many cases with remote situations, and how some companies have even chosen that during a period of time they want some of those new employees in the office training with somebody before they come into hybrid arrangements or anything like that. So that was very insightful. But then it goes into the next stage, is really, as you mentioned, if we want every single employee, now let's talk finance, be able to be a valued partner and be able to contribute in new different ways in a point in time where many of the transactional work maybe in a few years maybe no longer there. So then the role of every, let's say, accounting and finance professional changes dramatically and becomes more of a navigator, we can say, of information and connecting the dots between financial accounting data and operational data. And then we also discussed during these sessions ESG and how the finance profession is very much part of it. And we don't know what legislation may come, and also how Europe or California may impact everybody else in the United States. But at the end of the day, the reason why finance is so involved in this is because even though the data that is going to be used at some point in time for any type of disclosures may not be accounting data or financial data, there is a clear understanding that the finance profession has the skills and the level of ethical, we can say, backbone and expertise from the controls perspective that is required for any type of public information, including ESG information. And that becomes a new frontier for the finance profession.
Yeah, Ted, you described the whole future of finance perfectly, right? This whole idea of value partner and how do we get from back office to basically the front office. And it was so great to come down to Dallas to meet you here. And we got to work together on a bunch of things. Ted, thanks for your commitment to this profession, your leadership, and we're signing off from Marcus Evans CFO Conference here in Dallas. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.